Hello there, good morning, I'm Thomas Rintoul, this is my YouTube channel and this is the 5th week of my summer project studying supernovae. Over the last 4 weeks I've struggled with some code I've been working with to try and simulate supernova explosions in a language called Fortran, and now we're on week 5 of 6 of this project, and I've still got broken code. However, we have got some progress. Now, it's actually nearly the end of the morning, it's nearly 12 o'clock, and the reason for that is I've been doing some admin, I've recorded a video that will be coming out soon. Now, the plan for today, this is Monday the 5th of July, is that I've got to do some work and I've also got a meeting. So I'm going to work for a couple of hours from roughly about 12 o'clock, which is just gone. I'm going to work from 12 until 2, I'm going to be trying to add in these supernova explosions into a different initial simulation, and then I've got a group meeting, so the Star Formation group is meeting at 3 o'clock. We meet every 2 weeks on a Monday at 3 o'clock, and it's basically my chance to talk with other researchers in the group and ask questions that I might have, listen to what their research is and ask them questions about it. The other people in the group can ask me questions about it, make me really think about what I'm doing. So that'll be fun. I've got to do a wee bit of prep for that. I'm probably going to prep that at like 2:30, like half an hour before the meeting. It'll be fine. It's a very informal meeting. And then after that, I'm going to work for another hour until 5 o'clock, and then I have training, because I am now officially school president, but there's one more bit of training we have to get before we can be let loose on the world. So that is the plan. So I should probably put this camera down, go and do a bit of work. I will check in with you guys again at about 2 o'clock when I'm prepping for the, well, maybe 2:30 when I'm prepping for the meeting. And then I'll see you guys in a bit. This is going to be a good week, I think. I think it'll be fun. Not sure how well I'll get on with it, but I'm sure there will be progress made this week. I'm being positive about this. Also, if you're wondering why the lighting has appeared to be so good, I've still got my softbox set up. Good afternoon. So it's now about 2:30-ish. Actually, it's more like 2:45. I've got the group meeting in about 15 minutes, and I thought I would just give you my update that I'm going to be giving to the group. So as I've said before in previous videos, I'm working on a simulation of supernovae. Currently, there is a disconnect between the way that supernovae actually happen and the way that we simulate them in big simulations. In big simulations at the minute, we're kind of just throwing in a load of thermal energy, which isn't quite right. Half of the energy, roughly, should be kinetic energy. So not just heat, but actually changing the velocity of particles. So what I'm trying to do is create simulations that are a bit more cohesive, a bit more accurate, I guess, adding in this kinetic energy component. As of the end of last week, I've got a simulation that can add in both thermal energy and kinetic energy, 50-50, into a uniform distribution. So a box full of particles all at the same density. That's what I've currently got, but that's not what I want to have in the end. What I'm looking for in the end is to be able to do that in other simulations as well. The next step is adding these injected supernovae into a converging flow simulation. So a box of gas that's allowed to self-gravitate and form its denser regions in this massive gas cloud. But I would like to show you what I've got currently, so what we're currently trying to build into these converging flow simulations. So let me just turn the camera around and I will show you. When we let this run, we start having supernovae getting set off. We've got one there, and then at the densest point in the simulation, it'll set off another one. These brightest points that you can see are the densest regions, and it will pick the actually densest one to set off a supernova at. This is running at a resolution of 64 somethings. I think it's particles in the x direction, but I'm not entirely sure quite how that works, because there seem to be a hell of a lot more particles than there should be. But it's fine. Currently, this mostly works. Ideally, this simulation would run a bit longer, and I could run a bit longer, but that took about 3 hours to produce on the high-speed computers in the department. Well, in the university. I'm not sure they're actually in the department, but either way, that took about 3 hours to run, so I wasn't really inclined to run it again until I've got something that works a bit better. I might run it again at some point over the next couple of weeks, just so I can have a really high-resolution, long-running version of it that I can then have to show at the end, to show the progress of the project. But at the minute, I don't need that to run as is. So that's where I'm at this point. I'm trying to add in this supernova injection subroutine that I've come up with into a converging flow simulation. Gas converging down radially due to gravity. That's what I'm going to say in the group meeting in about 10 minutes. And yeah, it should be fun. I'm hoping to actually get it at least partially working today. I've got the simulation that I'm adding it into, this converging flow, and I'm hoping I can get it to actually trigger something. I'm not going to get it working completely today, but I'm hoping it will actually at least access the file and do something. That's the goal anyway. Okay, so it's now about 4:45. I'm at the end of the day, and I'm going to actually have to finish up just now because I've got school president training. So I've got that in about 15 minutes, so I'm not going to be able to run any more simulations. I have also realised that the simulation I just ran, which took about 15 minutes, I did completely incorrectly because I didn't check the code units ahead of time. In the past, I had been corresponding to each code unit of energy in my existing simulations had been corresponding to 10 to the 52 ergs. Thing is, the code units in this simulation I've just run, their code units of energy are 10 to the 40 ergs. So I should have been injecting 10 to the 11 ergs, 10 to the 11 code units of energy into each supernova, well, with each supernova that I injected. And I was inputting 10 code units. 10 orders of magnitude less than I should have been, because I'm a moron. But that's okay. I'm going to be able to get a shot at that the next time I'm working on this. That'll probably be Wednesday, because my best friend from home is coming up to visit me tomorrow. It's the first time that we've actually managed to find a time where we're both free. Well, relatively free. This is fairly flexible. I can work whenever I want. So I probably won't get that much work done tomorrow, but I'll be back on Wednesday. There will be no massive time jump for you other than there won't be vlogs from tomorrow. And yeah, it'll be good. Cool. See you guys later. Good morning. It is Wednesday. I did say I wasn't going to do any work on Tuesday, and I'm back at work. So I'm making slow progress. Currently, we've had so much fun today. So I tried booting into my Linux install, and that went horribly, to put it mildly. Basically, I screwed up when setting up Timeshift, the sort of like backup thing, and it was storing way too much. Like, the Timeshift backups were taking up about 80 gigs on my drive that I used for Linux, which is only 240. So I had a bit of a fun time trying to figure out that that was the problem and get rid of those. So that's now been sorted, but it took me until about 10:30, nearly 11 o'clock to get into Linux. Even then I was having sort of slow behaviour. I needed to get rid of a load of files, which I have now done, but it meant that my study stream today didn't happen, which is a bit disappointing because I hadn't streamed on Monday because I'd initially planned to, then decided not to because I put my schedule out. And then I didn't stream yesterday, obviously, because my friend was here, which was lovely. I had a really good day yesterday. But then, obviously, I didn't get to stream today. So I'm hoping that nothing's going to go wrong tomorrow, and I'll get my office hour stream that I normally do on a Thursday at the minute. And that'll be fine, I hope. I have just managed to finish running the test simulation with the correct energies in the supernova, the 10 to the 11, not the 10. So I've just finished rendering those dump files, and hopefully when I put them together into a movie, they're going to look sensible. I've got a meeting with my supervisor at 2 o'clock. I can let him know how much progress I've made at that point. And other than that, I've got a lot of admin to do. Hey, so it's now, God, what time is it? Yeah, it's just gone 3 o'clock. I've had a meeting with my supervisor. We've had a nice wee discussion through what I'm doing, some next steps. At the minute, I'm trying to put in some adjustments to the converging flow simulation with the supernova going off. At the minute I'm running a test simulation with that. And I've got one simulation working, so I can have the cloud kind of start to converge, but then it starts setting them off far too quickly. So I'm trying to delay setting off supernovae. So we get a bit of the cloud forming first. This is just to make sure that that's all working. After that, I need to sort out the units, make sure they are all right, because at the minute I think they're not quite there. Because we're doing a different basis for the simulation, the base code that we're working to add simulations of the supernovae into, that's got a different set of code units, so one means something different to what it's meant in weeks 1 through 4 of this project. That's where I'm at. I'm running a simulation at the minute to see if I've managed to delay it enough to see if the behaviour is working as it should, and then I'm going to work on the density stuff. Right now though, I'm going to get a cup of tea. Yes, I'm trying different angles because I realised that I've been looking at that window for a lot of time because it's the best natural lighting, I guess, with my camera on the GorillaPod and just holding it out at arm's length, and I didn't fancy doing that. So, tripod. Okay, good morning. Welcome to Thursday. Yeah, I was having to try and remember what day it was. So yeah, it's actually almost lunchtime. You'll probably see the time behind me. Actually, that's out by an hour because for some reason my Windows computer goes out by an hour after I've been in Linux. So I need to reset that. Anyway, it is almost 12 o'clock on Thursday, and I've done some work this morning. I've started to adapt the injection routine for the converging flow of gas simulation. So I've made sure the units are correct. Actually, making sure the units was correct was a lot easier than I expected it to be, because apparently I'd been smart when I'd created the file initially and used all the intrinsic things like asking for the mass of a gas particle in the simulation rather than just stating it. So that was a nice pleasant surprise. I just needed to change the energy to be exactly what it should be. I might ask if I can get a higher resolution version of the converging flow simulation to run, because the one I'm running at the minute is quite low resolution. So I'd like to see if I could run it at a higher resolution and get nicer plots than I will ever get from this. So that's the plan for that, but I need to wait for that to run. Right now, well, in 15 minutes, I have my physics Ask Me Anything office hour stream. That's the plan for probably the next hour and a half to 2 hours, is to have that stream. And then I've got to get lunch. Hopefully by that point the simulation will be finished and I can get an output from it. And then I have a meeting, part of a working group to do with stuff in the school. And then probably a bit more work. If my simulation isn't done by 2 o'clock, then hopefully it will be done by 4. And then tonight I'm seeing some friends. We're gonna go around to one of my friends' new house. They've moved house in town, so we're gonna go and visit them tonight. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah. In the meantime, though, I need to go and put a new battery in this camera by the looks of it, and also get myself a cup of tea, or maybe a can of Iron Brew before the stream. So I'll see you guys later. Hopefully the simulation works, and I will have a nice render for you. Okay, so it's actually now the end of the day almost. We're nearly at 5 o'clock, but that simulation that I started running earlier still is not done. I've made it a lot more intensive than I thought I had. So that's fun, but it's fine. So what I'm doing now, what I've done for the day actually, is I had my office hour stream, and I've been in a meeting for the last hour and a half. Actually overran. It was a really interesting meeting, but it did overrun. But because I don't have the simulation yet, I can't really do anything with it. So I'm going to finish a little bit early and I guess do some batch cooking, because I need to do something. I'm going to see my friends in an hour and a half, something like that. I'll be leaving. Haven't seen them for a while. So that's the plan for this evening. I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have this new simulation and it will look lovely. Good morning. It's Friday. It's the final day of the week, and you know that code that I was running yesterday? Yeah, turns out the bit that takes the longest is writing to a file, and it took like 9 hours because I asked it to write so many files. That was an oops, but it's fine. We're on the final day of week 5. How are we in the final day of week 5 of this project? We've got 1 more week left after this week, so 1 more week of videos to look forward to on this one. And I don't actually know where I'm standing right now. So I've got the simulation that's run. I ran that yesterday on the university computers. I need to log in to the university computers and find out what that did. I'll have to render out the files. And what I'm hoping is that my density trigger has worked and that the thing has all evolved as it's meant to, and that's all fine. That's the hope anyway. If this has worked, well, if this hasn't worked, I've got to figure out why it hasn't worked and try to fix it. If it has worked, well then that then gets a little trickier. I have to learn how to use the analysis subroutines. Now these are subroutines that are part of the Phantom software. Basically, I've got to try and get through this stuff before sort of middle of next week, because I want to be like pretty much done before this time next week, so that I can do anything cool at the end that my supervisor comes up with, or that I come up with. I've also got a meeting today in about an hour, so at the minute it's 9:30. I've got a meeting in an hour with the Director of Education and with faculty presidents to go through my ideas as school president for this year. Basically a pretty similar meeting to what I had with the Directors of Teaching a couple of weeks ago, but this time with the representatives at the Student Union, because they can support me in different ways trying to do that. I think before I do any of the analysis subroutines, I think what I'm going to do is run the simulation again, but at a much less intense amount of writing files. Like I'll probably do it for longer, but again, but at the same interval of dump file that I was doing before, and hopefully that will be a hell of a sight faster, jeez. Okay, so it's now about 2 o'clock. I've had my meeting with the executive members of like the academic representation lot at the union, so the Director of Education, the faculty presidents, etc, etc. I had that meeting. That was a useful meeting. I went over some of my goals for the year. They said, oh, we need to do a couple of things, which is fine. Explained where we're at with regards to getting joint honours reps in the other schools. It's great. I'm now working, or trying to. I have this problem. I think a lot of the simulation, like, researchers, the people who run simulations on the university cluster, I think a lot of them have come back from annual leave this week because I cannot get time on the damn computer cluster. Like, there's so much stuff in the queue that people are running, but there's just no available nodes. So I'm just sort of waiting for things to run. The simulation that I ran ran yesterday that took ages, yeah, that didn't go great because I put in like a hard stop if it doesn't do more than 30 supernovae, and that brought us right up to the point where it was about to get interesting and then it wouldn't do anymore. I'm now running that simulation with less dump files, but with more supernovae allowed to happen. Or at least I will be, if it ever makes it into the damn queue. Oh, wait, never mind, it's just made it into the queue. Brilliant, it's running. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it is running now, which is good. It's running on 16 cores and 32 threads, which is a bit more than my 6 and 12. So it should hopefully be not too slow. After that's run, assuming it runs and does what I expect it to do, I've been given a couple more starting simulations because I'm building it on a converging flow simulation that somebody else has made, somebody else in the department who's going to use some of the stuff I'm working on. He's given me a couple of these starting points that he wants to work from, and I said go and test it on these. So he gave me a low resolution, which is what's running at the minute, and now he's given me a couple of higher resolution ones. One that is 3.3 times the resolution and one that's 10 times the resolution, but that doesn't scale in terms of run time. Like the 10 times one is probably going to take like 30 times as long. So I hope that this isn't too slow. We'll find out. Either way, it's now running, so hopefully I will have something in the not too distant future. So it's now 4 on Friday, whatever day it is, 9th. Yeah, so it's the last day of the week, last day of week 5, and my code has worked. I've got a simulation now that has a converging flow of particles, converging in radially due to gravity, and in that simulation there are supernovae now injected. They're being injected at the densest points above a density threshold, and it appears to be working. I can see the supernovae blowing apart bits of the molecular cloud. It's lovely. It is the end of the week, the end of week 5, so I'm gonna finish up here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next week.